All right, let's go to Nico in Boise. What's up, Nico?
Good morning, Dr. John.
Good morning, Nico. What's up?
Well, I have a problem that I've sought resources for, and basically the advice I found on the internet is that the issue I'm having makes me a wuss, so I figured I'd reach out to you and see if maybe you could give me a little better advice.
You were like, I know a wuss. I'll call him. Well done, Nico. Well done. So what's up, man? What's this problem you got?
Well, so I
hold
was
on. By the
abused.
way, never go to the internet, dude.
Thank you.
There you go.
I had to learn that one the hard way.
Go to random podcasters. Way safer. Way safer. All right. So what's up?
My wife speaks pretty highly of you, so I figured that was a good place to start.
You're a wise man listening to your wise wife. Well done. Okay. So what's up?
So as a child, I was abused by my stepmother, verbally, emotionally, and physically. Thankfully, not sexually.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you through this whole thing. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. There is no thankfully here.
Okay.
Okay. It's easy to pass along to say, hey, it was emotional, it was physical, it was psychological, but it wasn't this, as though there's levels here. Okay. I want you to sit in the hell that was your childhood. And don't say, yeah, but somebody else got this and somebody else got that. We're not going to do that. We're going to let it ride. Cool?
Okay.
All right. We're in it now. We're in it. Your stepmother abused you. Evil person. Tell me more.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, so she was my primary caretaker and parental figure. My dad worked a lot. Okay. We're talking gone for weeks, come home for a few days, gone again. And so she was my primary person. And I didn't really think much of it as a kid. It was just, that was my normal. But then they got divorced when I was getting ready to enter 8th grade. And things happened. I didn't know about it at the time, but I had issues with women, especially when they would show any emotion besides happiness. I would shut down. And I only had a couple relationships through high school, nothing really serious. And then after high school, I, again, didn't realize it at the time, but looking back on it, I kind of avoided interacting much with women, like jumped into male-dominated professions and basically became my father working all the time. And then about 2 years ago, my wife, who was one of the couple relationships I did have in high school, she was my childhood sweetheart. We reconnected after more than a decade and ended up getting married. And we actually just on Valentine's Day had a daughter.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. But through the course of our marriage, there's been a couple incidents where my wife has had tension or conflict with another woman, and I didn't defend her. And basically, I just kind of shut down, and I didn't stand up to the other woman. And it's a thing that I, again, at the time didn't notice until we talked about it. And she pointed out to me that she doesn't feel safe because I don't defend her. And it's interesting, and it's caused a lot of reflection on me, because if it was a dude, no question. I'm a pretty big dude. I used to fight. Like I was a fighter. I wasn't great. I was 8'6", but I'm within 10 pounds of my fight weight. Like I'm confident and capable, willing to throw down at a moment's notice with a man. But if a woman gets mad, I shut down. I don't know what to do. And in the couple instances of reference, rather than try to intervene or stop the other woman or get in the way, I tried to control my wife instead. I was like, honey, you need to calm down. You need to do this. And I didn't help her. And she has expressed to me that now she feels unsafe. And I will do anything I can to save my marriage. And I got to figure out how to get over my issues with women and be able to stand up to a woman.
That's the first time you ever said that out loud?
Besides talking to my wife about it before I made this call, yeah.
Yeah. I just want to applaud you for saying that out loud. That's hard.
Thank you.
That's hard. And you're not a coward and you're not weak. Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
And if you've listened to the show for more than 5 minutes, I'm not always accurate, but I never lie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So your mom abused you. And that's trauma, right?
Yeah,
Do you acknowledge that?
I do.
Okay. So trauma can be a couple of things. It can be what you experienced, which is abuse. It can also be what should have happened, what you should have received as a child, as a kid, that an adult withheld from you.
Okay, that makes sense.
That means your dad is involved in this too. Your dad left you, man.
Yeah.
And you got a little
bunch of
boy in there
times.
wondering, why, Dad, did you leave me with this woman that I don't really know to go through this? And where's birth mom?
She passed away when I was 3.
Okay.
He remarried when I was almost 6.
Okay. And I'm just going to make up a story here that might or might not be right, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went all in on your birth mom and she died and he didn't have a plan B. And his body told him, we don't have a plan B, but we're never going to get hurt like that again. But he wanted companionship and he wanted connection, so he got remarried to somebody, and then he hit the road.
You nailed it almost exactly. He was all in with my mother to the point of working multiple jobs to afford a lifestyle they couldn't really afford so she could have everything. They were living in Hawaii, and he was, all the way down to not being a religious man himself, but never missed Sunday Mass because she was a devout Catholic. And then when she passed, it broke him.
Yeah.
And so the man that raised me was an alcoholic that worked on the road a lot.
That's right. I need you to hear the layers here. Mom dies at 3. Dad disappears in a bottle. Dad disappears on the road. Dad gets remarried to somebody who's abusive and crazy. And Nico, you got out. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you're weak or that you're not strong or you're a wuss. Ever. And I don't care about your MMA record. Okay?
Yeah.
You got out. You hear what I'm saying?
I did.
Okay. Now, I think you're misguided, and I'm telling you that out of love. Okay?
Okay.
I've done a few things to a few events with Jocko. You know Jocko?
I do.
The Navy SEAL guy is real tough. He's awesome. He's a great guy.
Dude is
Behind
awesome.
closed doors, he's a great guy. Front of closed doors, he's a great guy. And he's doing some good stuff. Former Navy SEAL. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. In my training, I didn't have a record at all. My training for years with MMA is before you could get fights every weekend. It was impossible to get fights. I left MMA training infinitely less of a hothead. I haven't been in an altercation since. I just decided I'm never doing that again because the end result wasn't worth it. And I'll never forget this interview with Jocko where somebody was asking him about it. And if you don't know, Jocko's multi-time black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a former Navy SEAL. He lifts weights 24/7, 365. He eats like bricks and iron for breakfast. And somebody asked him, okay, so you were walking with your wife and kids down the streets of San Diego, and some crazy person runs out and tries to start something with you. What do you do? And Jocko said, well, I guess I would grab my wife's hand and we'd walk across the street and go down the other sidewalk. And the guy said, what? You wouldn't defend your wife's honor? And Jocko said something that will stay with me for the rest of my life. He said, if it takes me beating up some lowlife on the streets to prove that I honor my wife, I have failed her in every other facet of our relationship. That's not where you show honor. And then he went on to say, there's a handful of men on planet Earth that can defeat me in hand-to-hand combat, and they all do it for a living. They're all professional fighters. And if somebody steps to me in a bar, I will buy them a drink and wish them well because they're clearly having a worse day than I am. I have a pretty good life. And I remember one time getting into something and my wife, thinking I was defending my wife, and she may have been my girlfriend at the time or just early on in my wife. And she told me, I feel less safe when you do that. And so I want to challenge you, given my life story, listen to what Jocko had to say, that maybe if your wife's in an altercation with another woman, the greatest, smartest way you can love her is to grab your wife's hand and get out. That throwing a punch at a woman or defending yourself in front of women or mouthing off at a woman is not the greatest display of honor and integrity and safety. The strongest thing to do is to take your emotions and put them in your back pocket and do the smart, intelligent thing that's going to allow you to wake up the next day without somebody throwing a bottle and smashing you in the head that you didn't see coming, or waking up the next day not in jail, or waking up next day with a bunch of people filming what happened and now you're unemployable because you beat up a female. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what happened in these situations that you walked away from, or you tried to get your wife to settle down to where she feels unsafe?
So the first one would have been, she was a couple months pregnant and we were in Nevada visiting some family, and she was in the restroom and there was an old lady that was waiting in line and got impatient and was knocking on the door a bunch. And her and my wife had a brief spat or whatever when my wife was leaving the bathroom. And my mother-in-law was with my wife at the time. And I had been elsewhere checking out the drink cooler, going to get my wife something to drink. Her and the mother-in-law headed straight outside instead of coming over to where I was. So I went out to ask her if she still wanted a drink. And we went back into the store, and then the old lady came up and started telling my wife, other people have problems too, and going off about something. And she got close enough to my wife that it made my wife very uncomfortable. And so my wife got real loud and they were going back and forth. And I was just like dumbfounded that this was even happening. Like, here's my wife having a borderline yelling match with an old lady at a gas station. And
so Nico, you're the one that got put in an unsafe situation.
What about the fact that I didn't defend my pregnant wife?
What in the world is your pregnant wife doing getting in a fight with an old woman who may have medical issues, may have mental health issues, may have some deranged son in the car with a gun? Why in the world is this? This is like children. You see what I'm saying?
And I felt very much that way at the time.
Your feelings were accurate.
At the same time,
nope, your feelings were right.
I took her into that situation.
To the gas station?
She had headed outside. I took her back in there.
Okay, so you...
I didn't read the situation.
Okay, so you messed up. You can get back in the car and be like, whoa, thought we could talk that one out. Not talking that one out. And then the whole thing's over. We're moving down the road.
Okay.
Okay? I have asked my wife on occasion, don't get me in a situation that I'm going to get myself killed, because I will. And my wife is as calm as they come, and she's like, trust me, if that happens, that would be because you're an idiot, not because of me.
Okay.
Your valor and value to your wife is not in confronting old women in gas stations. Okay?
Yeah. When we talked about that situation and the other one afterwards, because there was one other one involving a nurse at the hospital after the baby was born. And again, it was a verbal thing. My wife was really stressed out, and the nurse, rather than suggesting things, was telling her what to do. And my wife got all heated and ended up telling her, you know, you need to get out of here, or I'll have you removed. While this was going on, my wife was getting tense. Rather than telling the nurse to go, I was telling my wife, you need to calm down. You need to take some deep breaths, keep your blood pressure down.
Okay, and let's back out of that situation for a second. Did y'all just have a new kid?
Yeah.
You know who thinks rationally in those moments? No humans on the planet. No one.
Yeah.
No one. And so, there's got to be some grace on both sides. Confronting a nurse in a hospital is almost never the right move. And telling your wife who just had a baby to quote unquote calm down, that's probably pretty dumb. Right? I wouldn't say that.
I regretted it.
Well, and asking your husband to beat up a nurse that's dumb too. You see what I'm saying? The whole thing is being able to step back 30,000 foot after an emotional interaction and say, whoa, that got heated.
I feel like we're having a misunderstanding though, John, because she never asked me to beat anybody up. It was more when I asked her about what she expects.
Okay.
Essentially, in these situations, she wants me to get in between, to be a shield so that she has the option to leave. Instead, I try to put her in the box. I try to control her. And that's where the problem is. I feel safe enough with my wife that I will tell her, you need to calm down, versus some strange woman who's getting emotional and I don't know what to do about it.
That's the smart move. Leave.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We can have the discussions, we can have the disagreements, we can have the fights and the frustrations when we're at home and when we're safe and no one's going to hit us over the head with a bottle. But in the heat of the moment, sometimes the best thing to do is, I need you to leave. Has she ever grabbed you by the arm and walked you out of a place because you were a hothead? Probably.
Not that I can remember.
Or did your MMA coach ever do that?
Sensei shut me down on more than one occasion.
Exactly. It happens. It's a smart move. People who love us and take care of us, because sometimes we get heated and emotional in the moment.
Yeah.
I think the bigger conversation that y'all need to have is this. When do you not feel safe, Nico? When your wife is standing eye to eye, nose to nose with another adult woman, jawing and yelling, and people are back and forth. You can say, honey, I've got to get in the middle of that. Please walk away. And she can tell you, I don't feel safe when someone's attacking her. That's a whole other conversation. But that's not happening here. And more broadly speaking, whether this is related or not, I don't know, man. But whether it's related or not, your body understands very deeply that when somebody gets aggressive or in your face, particularly somebody who reminds your body of your stepmom, I don't want to paint that as all women, but as someone who reminds your body of your stepmom, the safest thing to do is shut the machine down. Shut it down. Go to neutral. Back it down. The whole thing. Turn it off. That's the safest bet to get out of the situation.
Okay.
And your homework over the course of your life, this is an ongoing thing, is to, number one, make sure this sweet little girl always knows that mom and dad are in control emotionally and physically.
Okay.
That y'all are safe. Okay? We're going to break this cycle with this young one.
And see, I'm really glad you said that, because there is an instant that was different than that. My wife had a son from a previous relationship who I've since adopted. I mean, he's my boy. but there was one instant with a man, and it basically involved my son and his son were at a park, and the other guy's kid was being a jerk to my kid. My kid said stop. The kid didn't stop. And my wife, who at the time was my girlfriend, like we'd been dating a couple of days, went to talk to the other kid, and the dad got up in my wife's face and started yelling at her. And at the time, like I said, girlfriend of a couple of days, and I see a dude bigger than me yelling at a woman smaller than me, and I had no issue getting between them and telling him he needed to get the hell back.
But do you see the difference there?
Yeah, it was a man.
No. It has nothing to do with the gender. I mean, maybe it does. But one of those situations, or two of those situations, was escalated by your wife. She could have got out of the bathroom with an elderly woman and said, hey, I'm sorry, or an older lady, I'm sorry, I had to go. You clearly have to go too. I'm sorry. You just walk away, go home. That's different than a big man coming at your wife in the park in attack mode. That's a totally different proposition. And in your body, it's starting to conflate aggression and frustration, and all of it just gets wound up. Yes, I would do the same thing. If someone's coming after my wife, I'm going to get between them. There's no question about that. And if my wife just needs to, if we can just walk out the door and get in the car, I'm going to walk out the door and get in the car. And it's not because I'm a wimp, and it's because I'm smart and I have honor that woven into my relationship. As I was saying a minute ago, the rest of your life is going to be dedicated to letting this little girl know you're present. You're not going to get on the road. You're not going to run. You're not going to turn to alcohol. When being a parent gets hard, and make no mistake, Nico, it'll get hard. And when your body begins to seize up on you and freeze on you and shut down on you, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it and go, whew, we used to not be safe, and now we are. We used to not be safe, and now we are. We used to not be safe. Now we are. And we're just going to practice safety. And when you don't feel safe, when your wife's dragging you into a fight with an older woman in a gas station, you are right to say, this is not smart for either of us. Let's not do this. I brought you back inside. I thought we could talk it out. That was stupid of me. I'm sorry. You're a good man, dude. You're a good man. You've been through hell and back, and you got the scars and strength to prove it. Let's make moving forward about connection. Let's make moving forward about safety. Let's make moving forward about teaching our body that we weren't okay then, but we're okay now. Let's break this generational abuse and alcohol. Let's stop it. It stops with you. I'll walk with you the whole way, my brother. Give me a call anytime.